welcome our moms over at our Life Mission Partner Church. Welcome to, we have a lot of moms sitting here live with us. So we are glad to have you here. We are the Single Mom KC, and this is our first Wednesday of every month program called Pursuit. And I don't know about you all at Life Mission, but we have a lot of first-time moms here, so we want to say welcome. And so welcome to all the first-time moms over at Life Mission too. And I just have to say thank you for getting out in this dicey weather. And so we're so glad to be with you tonight. And our volunteers are excited to be back. We took a break last month, but we're rolling now, first Wednesday of every month. I am Lori. I'm the program director for the Single Mom KC. And it is truly my pleasure to have you all here. Before we get started with our program tonight, I'm just going to run through a few announcements. And if you are watching us on YouTube and are not connected with us, if you'll reach out to our website, and there's a contact page there. If you'll contact us, we'll get you in the loop of what we do at the Single Mom KC. We've got a clothing boutique where you can shop single moms at no cost to you, and just lots of great stuff. If you are sitting live with us either at Life Mission or over here, you should have a packet of information that your leaders, your table leaders just gave to you. If you'd pull that out, I just want to review a few things. The first page, our speaker tonight will go through with you. That's part of her talk that says resources. And then if you go to the second page, we always are about sending home something for you to work on and keep working on over the topic that we present in the workshops we present. So second page of the packet for the moms that are live is a take-home journal that you can work on throughout the month. To just keep encouraging you to just put the skills that and the tools that Renee will teach on tonight into practice. And then if you'll flip to the back side, here are the announcements. If you're in person, you can register through our QR codes on our on the handout. But I just want to highlight with you, next month, first Wednesday in March, which I think is also the 5th, I'm really excited about this program. We are going to have partners from the Pascal Hens law practice come. It will be a workshop. There will be leaders, facilitators in each location. We won't have a speaker live stream next month. We'll have actual hands-on in both locations. And moms, we are going to be tackling if the unexpected would happen to you, will your kids be taken care of? We'll be equipping you on legally what you should have in place in the event that you got seriously ill and were incapacitated, or God forbid, there was an accident or an illness that took you, that you could be assured that you have done your very best to put things in place. So our lawyers will actually be bringing in templates, and we'll coach you how to fill out. We'll take a look and they'll help you understand what a will is, what a trust is. Some have those, some do not, and they'll explain the difference. Things like power of attorney and durable power of attorney. And then our gift for you, we always give a gift to work on the topic. It will be a book that you should write down all of your emergency contacts, all your information, where the kids' birth certificates are, all those kinds of things. So then in the event something would unexpectedly happen to you, there would be a resource, and as a mom, you have taken care of it. And this will take place, this will help. My children are all grown, and I have all of that in place. And so if your children are grown, you need this. If you've got little ones, you need this. So we're super excited about that. So register now, Life Mission or Colonial, for March 5th Pursuit. And then I just want to take a moment before we kick off our program to tell you a little bit about how the Single Mom KC is programming. We've been at this for quite a while, and we're constantly evaluating how we can do our very best to be very intentional with walking alongside moms and offering you true tools and equipping and opportunities to heal that will truly change and transform your lives. And what we have discerned over the last several years, our leadership team, some of our leadership team is sitting at Life Mission, some are here with us. tonight in this location is that there's a pattern to healing and restoration and community that is established with our workshops. And so if you're looking at your handout, there's a QR code. You can see we have a cute little graphic. You can do that later if you want, that talks about our program, Pathway Towards Restoration. And so, so I just want you to know that you're sitting in Pursuit. We call our first Wednesday program every month Pursuit. And that name's been around a long time, and it's in pursuit of wholeness and well-being is the long range of it, in pursuit of wholeness. And so that is where we first invite you in. A lot of new moms here, a lot of new moms over there. And that's where you get to know us, you get to know our volunteers, you get to know our leaders, and most importantly, you get to know each other. That's where you network and build friendships and establish play dates and all of those kinds of things. And within that community, every month at Pursuit will offer you a little short workshop on a tool, and tonight, and you heard next month's. And so, and then tools to practice. But our Pursuit workshops are really kind of short. We can only get so much in a short amount of time, but it is really where you start on your journey in community with us, as well as empowering you. But then, so that's called our Engage circle of our pathway. And then we see that the next phase, if you see that graphic, you'll see 4 circles, and they kind of point to each other. One points to the next one. The next part is, you can read it on your handout, Empower. And in that time, we recommend that every mom, no matter your life place, no matter your kid's age, kids home, kids out, whatever, would go through our Victim to Victorious workshop. And that's your starting place for your journey to be eligible for other workshops, which I'll describe in a moment. So we encourage every mom to go through our Victim to Victorious workshop. We do that because over several years of doing that workshop, and I know our leaders will agree with me on this, we have seen significant life change happen in moms' lives through that workshop. And so we encourage everyone to go through that. The second one we encourage all moms to go through is our Healing from Your Heart Wounds workshop. Now, it is a Friday night, all day Saturday journey to recognize your significant life changes that you've been through. Trauma. We all have trauma. One of the definitions of trauma is a significant life change. And identifying, but also beginning to recognize, and it is a scripture-based workshop. I want you to know that. So, if that's not comfortable for you, be aware it is a scripture-based workshop of a journey of identifying your trauma, and then our experienced, trained facilitators take you on a journey to just have that revealed and to work and to really catalyst towards your healing from those traumas. You won't be completely healed at 6 o'clock on Saturday, but it is a jump start or a next step in your journey, whether you're in therapy or just starting or whatever. So we really encourage every mom who comes to us to go through both of those workshops, but in particular, get through that gateway of Victim to Victorious. Because once you've been through one or both of those, and especially Victim to Victorious, then if you look at that graphic, there's a third circle down here, and we call that our Grow circle, and that's where you can go through our Financial Stability workshop, Healthy Boundaries, which our speaker tonight is our creator and facilitator for Healthy Boundaries, and then Raising Victorious Kids workshops. And if you want more information on any of those, I'd be glad to share that with you. This is also where we encourage you to come through our year-long Learning to Lead Self-Family Community Leadership course. Raise your hand if you are, both locations, if you're currently in Learning to Lead or if you're a graduate. So you might want to talk to the moms that have been through through that particular course too. So anyway, I just want you to understand, because we put registrations out, and then sometimes I'll have to send an email going, I'm sorry, you can't you're not ready for that yet. And so start here with Engage, which you are, lead to Victim to Victorious, Healing from Your Heart Wound, and then you'll be eligible for those other workshops. Here's the other thing. We strongly discourage, and if you sign up for too many, I'll personally reach out and go, hey, I'd like you to wait on this. We only encourage really a workshop no more than 6 months apart, because you come out of it with behavior changing tools to work on. And if you hit our workshops back to back to back, you're just going to have a good time, but nothing's going to happen, because none of us can learn that fast, right? And so we encourage you to just walk very slowly through our pathway workshops. If you have questions about any of that offline, or email me, and I can talk to you. But just wanted you to have, as we start this year, an understanding of what we're doing, and that it's very intentional to walk with you. And we've seen just such great growth in moms who just slowly go through our pathway. So having said that, page 3, if you would like to attend Victim to Victorious or Healing from Your Heart Wounds, there you go. Hit that QR code. I will tell you that Healing Heart Wounds is the only thing we do where we do not provide a children's program. And the reason for that is it's Friday till 9 o'clock and all day Saturday, and that is just too long for kids to just be gathered at a church room. But by the way, everything we offer, Pursuit and our workshops on our pathway, your children are being equipped in the very same topic. And so we're not just equipping you and saying, hey, we're going to support you to a place of wholeness and stability and growth in your families. We actually are providing it upstairs tonight here down the hall at Life Mission through our amazing kids program. So that's a little bit about us as we start the year. And speaking of that amazing kids program, the last handout you have is from our children's director. It'll give you an overview of what the kids are doing. And you see all these QR codes? She is giving you things to work on with your kids. Hit these QR codes, and Renee will highly sanction that you should be doing engaging activities with your kids. So that's a little treat for you and your kids to work on, being connected with tonight's topic. We also have every month a beautiful packet from our children's director with more just hands-on, your gift of an activity to do with your kids. Now, if you're sitting here and you're saying, well, gosh, I don't have kids in the home anymore, but I have grandkids, this gives you something to do with them. Help them to walk through. Or take it to another single mom that does have children, if you're not a grandmother yet, or your children are out of the home. But tool we have for you. Because we always give you a lot of stuff, and we're starting out the year, and we always have a gift at Pursuit. Tonight, ladies, your gift is an organizing basket to put all of your stuff in. So that way, as you throughout the year, you might think of this topic and go, wow, I want to look back through Renee's handout and check out those resources. If you put your handout in here tonight, you'll have it. And this is really cool for your kids' packet. That so go home, find them wherever you've got them laying around, or, under the bed or whatever, in the closet. Put them there, and then that way you can come back and use them again and again and again. So how about that? Yeah? All right. So that's our stuff tonight. So let's get to, a couple of things. Prayer request card. They're on the tables over at Life Mission, on the tables here at the end of the night. If we have a confidential prayer team that loves to pray for you, so would love to have you fill out a prayer request. So, okay, let's get ready. So those of you that have been with us for a while, you know that we have one of our very, very, very favorite special speakers with us tonight, Renee Latimer. She is. I think I put in your bio, you're a dear friend of the organization, but more importantly, you're a dear friend of single moms and their children. And so we are super excited to have Renee talk on identifying your barriers to healthy relationships. And so Renee knows what she's talking about, because she's got a lot of letters behind her name, right? She's a licensed, therapist. I don't even know what all the letters stand for, but she's a clinically licensed professional counselor in Kansas and Missouri. And she's certified to work with kids, so she can not only support you, she can support your kids, she can support the family. So when she speaks, she's talking tonight to you all, but it'll trickle down to your kids as well, and adolescents, and a registered play therapist. Renee is also, as I mentioned, the creator and the presenter of our Healthy Boundaries workshop, which is in that third circle of grow on our pathway. And if you attend our Saturday workshops, you'll often see her in our children's ministry at our Saturday workshops. So she loves your kids, she loves you, and we love you, Renee. So will you just let's just give Renee a warm hug welcome from a distance. So Renee Latimer.
All right, make sure everybody can hear me okay. We're good. All right, excellent. Well, it's so good to see so many familiar faces and even some new faces. Thank y'all for allowing me to be here. I'm always excited to be able to talk to you all about different topics. As if you've been here before, like she said, boundaries are my bread and butter. I can talk about that all day. They only gave me 30 minutes tonight, so we're just going to have to wrap this up real nice. But to talk about unhealthy relationships, what are some things that may be getting in the way of creating and maintaining healthy relationships, different obstacles, different barriers, with the ultimate goal to figure out how to prevent that or figure out how to end unhealthy relationships. Now, boundaries do kind of fall into that, but that's just one little piece. And so what I want you just to be thinking about tonight as I'm speaking is, what are some things that resonate with you? As I'm talking about the different things that may get in the way, just kind of doing that internal reflection. Is this something that might be a pattern of mine? Is this something that I've received feedback from somebody else that might be a blind spot that I need to be paying attention to? This is not about condemnation. This is not about shame, but it's about identifying so we can make change. And that's the ultimate goal when we're talking about this tonight, okay? So anytime we talk about relationships, this could go so many different ways, right? There's so many aspects. But I want you to think about it not just strictly from a romantic relationship standpoint, but also with your children, siblings, spouses, coworkers, bosses. We are constantly surrounded by relationships where we need to identify different patterns and decide if this is healthy or not healthy. So again, we're just getting the wheels turning. This is not meant to be therapy. This is not to take the place of counseling. This is not to take the place of your community group, but it's to get you thinking, to plant the seed, and then you get to decide what to take from here and go from there, okay? So when we're thinking about barriers or obstacles, let's kind of think about some things that get in the way of healthy relationships. These can be internal things, so personal things that are inside of us, or external. So for instance, external, others' behaviors or choices, okay? Things that other people choose to do that make it difficult to maintain a healthy relationship. Others people's choices that impact what we do within that relationship. Another external, our own choices, our own patterns of behaviors that we've adopted that may be unhelpful for us, that lead to unhealthy patterns. So maybe we did something for a while to get our practical needs met, even though it was unhealthy. It got us fed, it got a roof over our head, it kept us safe from the elements, kept our children safe from the elements, but now it's no longer serving us. And we're taking those same behaviors and choices into other relationships. That may be an external barrier or obstacle. Also, tolerance of unhealthy behaviors because our needs were being met. So tolerance is not the same thing as preventing. I'm not talking about preventing unhealthy things, but I am saying when they keep happening, we stay and we tolerate it. Whether it's for, again, a practical need is met or another internal barrier, which we'll get to in just a minute. Speaking of internal barriers, belief system. Maybe we have a thought process or we have a system that we put in place that we've grown accustomed to. These can be thoughts that we have about ourselves, thoughts that we have about other people, thoughts that we have that we've created based on what was modeled for us. So it's this lens that we look through to determine if something is healthy or unhealthy. Also internal, our emotions or feelings, right? When our feelings and emotions come to the surface, they may tell us you can't leave. They may tell us you need to stay. They may tell us it's too scary to make this hard choice. Comparison, envy, sadness, All of those feelings can be barriers that keep us either in an unhealthy relationship or keep us from seeking healthy relationships. So, again, those are just obstacles, and I want you just to be thinking about, do any of those resonate with me? Do any of those things come to mind when I'm thinking about, ooh, is this healthy? Is this unhealthy? Should I stay? Should I go? Again, not just romantically, but also in other connections that we have. So, what are some common barriers? So, we talked about internal, we've talked about external. Sometimes it's hard to identify what's actually toxic or harmful. What do I mean by that? Sometimes we just can't see the red flags, whether we're painting them a different color because we don't want to see them, whether we've been in it for so long that we just cannot identify it anymore. I don't know if y'all know those commercials. I think it's like a Febreze plug-in where it says you go nose blind, like certain like sits in your house. Sometimes that happens relationally. We just go red flag blind because we've been in the pattern for so long. We've seen it so long. We've just been overwhelmed by it for so long that we just don't recognize it anymore. And when that happens, then we become accustomed to, again, tolerating some of those things that no longer serve us. For example, dishonesty from the other person, coercion, violence, abuse, controlling behaviors, bullying, or demeaning language. Again, this could also look like excessive jealousy or possessiveness and leading to distrust. Okay, so I want you just to sit with that just for a minute. What is your tendency when those red flags come up? What is your tendency to do with that? And this is not something you need to answer, but I want you just to be thinking about that because that matters about how you behaviorally respond. So we can be thinking something, feeling something, sensing something, but our responsibility is to behave in a way. But if we don't identify it as unhealthy or toxic, we're not going to change anything about it. Okay? Another example of a common barrier is low self-esteem or self-worth. So how we place value on ourselves, how we put labels on ourselves, about how we interact as a partner, as a mom, as an employee, as a sister, as an aunt, as a grandma. What is my personal value? If I was on a shelf and there's a sticker that was on me saying how much I'm worth, what would that be? Because that is going to determine how we think about ourselves. And sometimes those thoughts that get in the way of us being able to pursue healthy relationships might sound like, well, this is just good enough. It's good enough for right now. It's better than nothing. I could be alone. I could be unemployed. This is better than nothing at all. This is the only type of relationship I deserve. I don't deserve better. I've never seen better. I've never experienced better. So this is what I deserve, so I'm going to stick with it. That is, again, a direct reflection of how we value ourselves, the price that we put on ourselves, whether that's us, again, looking through our own lens or even lenses and labels that were placed on us by other people. And it's important to know that, again, because how we believe about ourselves is how we're going to treat ourselves and how we allow other people to treat us as well. Another example are just breakdown in communication issues in general. Okay? Can be huge barriers to healthy relationships. I don't know if you've ever been communicating with somebody and it's just like, something's just not quite clicking. Like, I feel like we should be on the same page, but something's just not quite lining up. And that is just simply a breakdown in communication, whether it is I am miscommunicating or I'm misinterpreting what somebody else is saying. And typically those can be resolved if we're using communication effectively to be able to talk out those things. But if those communication skills are not there from one party or both, then it just breaks down in communication, and then that's when that unhealthy type of behavior is right there. An inability to state wants and needs. Sometimes we don't really know what we want. Maybe we've been in relationships or around people who've always told us what we wanted. We've never had the space to identify specifically, oh, I know what I want. I know what my goals are. I know exactly what I'm working toward. And we don't know how to state that sometimes. And that is a part of, again, knowing who we are, knowing what we're working toward. An inability to receive feedback or correction from others. Okay? Sit with that one. Sometimes, we want to blame other people and we want to say, oh, it's their fault. They're not communicating well. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. But sometimes we need to take responsibility and say, sometimes I just don't like it when people are giving me feedback. It does not feel good to me when I'm getting corrected. Again, as Lori was talking about trauma, sometimes that is a trauma response. This idea that we want to always be liked and we want to be perfect and we want to please people. And so we don't like to rock the boat. And if I say something that says I want something different, then they might leave or they might fire me and I can't take that. And so we get really passive and we don't state our wants and needs and we don't stand up for ourselves and what we want. And then when people give us that feedback, we might take it as rejection. We might take it as an insult, when in fact, it might be a healthy way of just trying to help correct what's going on so that you can feel successful in the future. And this is my jam, boundaries. I'm not going to stay on it long, but what I will say is one barrier could be having weak boundaries, which means that we're passive. We don't stand up for ourselves. Some people who have a passive communication or weak boundaries sometimes will describe themselves as feeling like a doormat. We just allow people to kind of do whatever, absorb all of their stuff, take responsibility for their stuff when it really doesn't belong to us, and we just allow things to happen. So this could be allowing people to take over financially for us. Again, talking about coercion, even if it's a boss, overworking without the compensation that goes with that. It could be a child, which I know sometimes people don't even think about having boundaries with their children, but yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. Especially with even littles, young kids, even as little as 3, all the way up to adult children. I know sometimes it's hard to take the hands off and let go of the reins when you got kiddos going into high school and college, but even setting boundaries with adult age children is just as important. Because again, if people are constantly used to you saying yes, I heard if people are constantly used to you saying yes, then there's not a boundary in place, okay? And what happens is that then you start to resent them, and that again becomes a barrier within that relationship. So stating your wants and needs, knowing what your goals are, knowing what your values are, help to identify, is this something that is in the way? Because what tends to happen is when we're not aware of our own morals and values, we put the power into other people's hands to create that for us. We lose our sense of self, and when that relationship is no longer there, again, no matter what type of relationship it is, we're kind of left like, oh, who am I? I don't know what I like. I don't even know if I like that food. I was just eating it, because it was there. I don't even know if I like camping. They just said, let's go, so I went. And so when we don't understand who we are individually, it makes it very hard for us to even be healthy in relationships, because we can tend to latch onto other people to require them to define things for us instead of taking the responsibility to define it for ourselves. And again, your morals or values, what you stand for. So when the rubber hits the pavement, nobody can sway me away from this thing. Okay? Whether that's family, spiritual beliefs, education, any of those things. Like this is like, it doesn't matter what environment you're in. If I say, you know what? If Rosie's at work, I know she is not compromising on this thing. That same thing when she's with her kids, I know she's not compromising on it, right? Those are your morals and values. These are your cornerstones that you live your life by. If you are unable to identify that, that's going to be very hard to participate fully in a healthy relationship. If that other person is unable to identify their own values and morals, it's going to make it difficult for you to also participate in that healthy relationship as well. So those things also need to be established. And then again, being aware of our own emotional baggage and unaddressed trauma. Let's sit with that for a minute because it's heavy and it's scary. But what's scarier is not addressing it and bringing that in unknowingly, especially in your relationship with your children. Okay? There are things that, no, we don't need to trauma dump on our children. Our children are not our sounding pad for our trauma. But when it becomes unaddressed, they are the recipients of it. And so however you choose to do that in community, with the counselor, with a spiritual leader, coming to workshops like this to be able to work through that, that's important if you want to create a healthy relationship. And please hear me, when I say healthy, I am not talking about perfect. Okay? When you are interacting with people, everybody in here is imperfect. So if you came in with shouldering this idea of I have to be perfect, you can leave that outside. It's not a thing. You are not going to get two perfect people in a connection or a relationship. But what you can have is two healthy people. But that has to be intentional, each person's responsibility in order to be able to do that. Okay? So again, identifying what is my emotional baggage that I'm bringing in here, what might be my unaddressed trauma, how do I deal and how do I cope? Have I learned? So even if you've addressed it, you've talked about it, how are you practically putting that into play in order to, again, not reciprocate some of those same behaviors within the relationship, okay? Oh, we're doing great on time. We're doing great on time. All right. So, again, we've talked about what are these obstacles? What are the things that get in the way? They're internal. They're external. It's our stuff. It's other people's responsibility. Ultimately, we want to be able to trust ourselves and trust other people in order to really be in a healthy relationship. If I can't trust me to make a decision, that means I'm going to be dependent on other people to make the decisions for me. If I can't trust other people to help me make decisions, I'm going to become very hyper independent, which is a big pendulum swing in the other direction, which says I don't need anybody. I've been doing this by myself for a long time. I got this in a bag. I can't trust anybody. Nobody's going to show up for me. Only I show up for me. I'm the only person who can do it. Okay? The issue is that starts to cause isolation and self-dependence, which is a very, very quick trajectory to burnout. Okay? So, I don't know, I saw a meme where there was a lady who was carrying I think it was like a washer up the subway stairs. I don't know if y'all saw that, but it's like, this is hyper independence. There's a point to where you get so used to doing things by yourself that it does become unhealthy because you're teaching yourself that people are not dependable. And that is not how we were created. We were created to connect with other people in a very healthy way. Now, does that discount that you've been disappointed? Absolutely not. Does that discount that you were disappointed? No, because people will disappoint you. Again, we are imperfect people. It is going to happen. But we have to be careful to not generalize those things to all people at all times in all things. And again, that comes from creating healthy boundaries and knowing what to expect from certain people in certain areas. Internal stuff, knowing red flags. So if you see the red flag, you know what it is. Don't paint it off pink to make it more tolerable for you, okay? If it's red, it's red. Trust yourself in that and know what it is and do what you need to do with that. So let's talk about some different ways to work through some of these obstacles. So, of course, I think of counseling and therapy. That can be individual. That can be family. Whatever you need. There's a lot of barriers for counseling in general. Accessibility, sometimes there's, financial concerns. But and I've heard people say too, well, no, I've got my sister. She's my therapist. No, my best friend is my counselor. And to some degree, that can be therapeutic. Absolutely. But therapeutic is not the same thing as therapy. It is important to seek someone who has the education, the training to be able to lead you in a healthy way through some things that don't have the biased opinion in the back of their mind. Because no matter how much your best friend says, this is a no judgment zone. We judge, we don't listen. There's something playing in the back of their head like, no, didn't you just say? And so you want to make sure that you're seeking out someone who is specifically trained to help you through it, right? Even someone who is trauma trained to be able to help you through some of those traumatic experiences so that you are aware of when you're being triggered. That's another thing. Sometimes we just don't know what it is. All we know is that we feel our body go into panic and anxiety, and we're not exactly sure why. And so, someone who is trained to help you to identify and work through that can help you to then be a better participant in your relationships. Because when I can identify what's wrong with me or what's going on in my body, I'm more likely to be able to tell you what's going on. And in a healthy exchange where experiences is very important. And again, learning how to identify red flags and deal breakers. So how do we do that? Sometimes when you're walking around with an ailment or a physical injury and you've had it for a really long time, it's really difficult to identify if it's still there, right? Sometimes we become numb to it. It's like we know we've had it for a very long time. It's supposed to be there. Maybe it is. But we don't actually know that we're better until it goes away. So if you've ever had like a migraine for a very, very long time, and it's like, oh, this is miserable, but I know how to put my glasses on, I know how to put stuff over my ears, block everything out, and then it's gone. It's like, oh, that feels good. I can blink without feeling like, my brain's getting stabbed, and I can do the moments with unhealthy relationships is that sometimes we don't understand it until we're out of it. And once you're out of it, you can look back and say, oh, that is something that made me feel a certain type of way. Oh, man, when they said that, this is what I was thinking. Sometimes, again, that requires other people to help us to see that. People who you trust, not just somebody who's going to gas you up if you're feeling angry, right? But someone who you trust to say, hey, out of love, what I see is the same thing that was happening the last time. Out of love and caring for you, what I see is that you're starting to tolerate the same thing a little bit more. Out of love, I see your mood changing. 3 months ago, before you got that job, you were joyful, you had lots of energy, you had a routine. But it's been 3 months since you've been in that job, and your mood is irritable, you're cranky, you're not sleeping well. You get that from community and being around people who you trust to give that feedback. And again, that requires a lot of self-awareness for you to be open and aware of who's giving you that information and be open to that feedback as well. So trusted people are just as important as we're talking about doing counseling as well. Also doing your own research. Everything does not work for everybody. Some people will say, I do not have the attention span to sit down and listen to a podcast. But what I can do is read a little short snippet out of a journal. Okay, do your own research, dig in, look for what works for you. There are some different book recommendations and stuff like that, which you should have as well. But do your own research, know what works for you. Put yourself in a position to identify what is it that's going to work for me to make me feel like I can do the best that I can in setting healthy relationships. Learn assertive communication skills. So learn how to speak up for yourself. Body language, voice tone, voice volume, word choice, when to say certain things, how to read the room, how to read other people's body language. Is this a good time to bring it up? Okay? Just because we have something to say, sometimes it doesn't make it the right time. And so we need to be able to identify, oh, what's the feeling here? Is this the right time for me to bring this up? Is this the right moment for me to assert what I need or want? Okay. When you're at your height of anger and the other person's at their height of anger, let me just tell you right now, this is for free. That's not the right time to bring it up, all right? So put that in your little gray basket that Lori's going to give it to you. Don't bring it up if everybody is at the height of anger, okay? So be able to read the room and know, is this the right time for me to use those assertive communication skills? Again, eye contact is one of those things. Body posture, gesturing, all of those things are all encompassed in what is that healthy and assertive communication. Build self-trust. That is something that takes a little while, especially if you've been in a position of making choices that, again, may have brought about shame, and you just decided, I just don't trust myself. You can build back self-trust. You absolutely can. Just like in somebody breaks our trust within a relationship and it takes time to build that back, but we're motivated to actually do it, the same thing can happen for us. Because once we learn what it is to trust and forgive ourselves and work through that, we're more likely to be able to give that to other people. Um, and so, building on your self trust, building back up your confidence to make decisions, building up your confidence to kind of get your picker right, if you will. Some people say my picker is wrong. Giving yourself the confidence to build that back up so that you can make those better decisions. And of course, strengthen self confidence. That goes back to, what do I like? What do I enjoy? What brings me happiness? What brings me joy? What do I delight in? Who do I enjoy being around? What food do I like? What scents do I like? All of those things come from confidence when we can identify, who am I? Outside of a role, outside of a title, outside of mom, outside of grandma, outside of aunt. Who am I? Who am I as a person? What do I value? What do I trust? What morals and values do I live my life by? That is what comes, again, to help build that self-confidence, but to know who you are as a person as well. There's a saying that says, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And that's what happens when we don't know our values and morals, is we start falling for anything. We start being chameleons, adapting to our environment instead of standing out based on who we are and what we like. And of course, learning how to set healthy boundaries. Come back for that one. And then community and social support, church, community groups, healthy friends, life groups, online groups, all of those things. Being community, it's important. Again, people can see things that maybe we don't see, our blind spots. We get to share with each other, share each other's experiences, connect. Here at Single Mom KC is a perfect example of that. You have a shared experience, but everybody has their own story, and then you can be able to glean from other people and also pour into other people as well. And then books and podcasts. We were actually just talking about this book that I just recently finished, Good Boundaries and Goodbyes by Lisa TerKeurst, which is amazing when it comes to spiritual and also practical ways to set boundaries, but also knowing when it's time to say goodbye in some of those situations as well. So, just in conclusion, I want you to know, number one, is that even if you have a pattern of unhealthy relationships, you are very capable of changing the trajectory of that. You're strong. Doesn't mean you're perfect, but you're capable. And my goal is to not dissuade you, but to encourage you. That it might take time, but you're worth it. Your connections are worth it. Your families are worth it. Your children are worth it for you to be in healthy relationships. To be connected to people who care and who have this mutual exchange just like you do. And it might take some time, it might take some intentionality, but it is absolutely, absolutely possible. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Renee. It's always a blessing. And, she was talking about resources, therapy, and things. So, in your packet, she's given some of resources that Renee really recommends. So, I would encourage you to do that. We are just so grateful to have time together now that we just can discuss in small groups and unpack some of Renee's points. So, will you join me in saying good night to our YouTube audience and good night to Life Mission as we go into our small group time? Say good night, girls. Good night.